Hey everyone, it's Friday. Shall we say Friday?
Yay!
It's Monique and Meg, and today, after last week's discussion or earlier this week about the fireworks, I was wondering, Meg, will, and it leads up to the discussion we want to have, but will training your dog help you by managing him during a time of fireworks and like real trauma? Would that, and what kind of training, or how can I ensure that my dog actually listens when he's really traumatized to me? Is that even possible?
Yes, so obviously the more training that you do with the dog, the better it is. And like you say, in a time where they do get stressed out or they are in a traumatic situation, it is very, very, very helpful to have a strong training base in place with your dog. Because what will happen then, even though they're panicking and they're traumatized and they're trying to run away, if you give them a command that they're very used to, that they know, it actually provides them with a level of comfort, and it gives them something to respond to, and they'll often come to you. With regards to the type of training, I think, in my opinion, I think the most important type of training anyone can do with their dog is recall.
What does that mean? Sorry, but what does that mean?
So the recall training is basically, it's a very basic command, but it's also the hardest to get right, is calling your dog. So no matter what they're doing, no matter where they're going, no matter where you are, you want your dog to respond to you when you call it and to come to you immediately. So that involves now, them chasing after their favorite duck in the park, and you call them back and they need to be able to leave it and respond to your command and come back to you. Whether they want to chase after a dog that might be a little bit, on the aggressive side, they need to be able to stop and come back to you. And like you say, with a stressful, situation where they feel like they want to run away, it's extremely helpful to be able to get your dog back and have them, kind of in your presence and under your control again.
Now that all said, right, it sounds super easy. So, call your dog back.
No.
It's not. So how does one go about going? So I've had a few people saying they've got new puppies and they took the puppy for one set of training. They either didn't like the trainer because they didn't connect with the trainer, or, they didn't find the training went fast enough, or whatever it is. So is this something one can attempt at home, and can you give us some pointers on what to do, on how to teach the dog recall?
Yes. So the biggest thing with recall is positive reinforcement. You want to associate something good with them coming to you when they're called, because often they've left something in their mind that's better, be it a dog or a really interesting smell in the bushes. You want them to be more excited to come to you than whatever they might be experiencing on their little walk or wherever they are. So the biggest thing with that is treats, obviously. Food is the most useful training tool for positive reinforcement. And obviously you need to stay consistent. So you call your dog. Sometimes initially it can take a lot of calling for them to actually respond. It can take quite a while, but you have to stay consistent. You can't get frustrated with them. And the second that they come back, they get rewarded and they get a little treat. Unfortunately, it means that you end up walking around with a pocket of treats, pretty much all the time, because you have to have them handy so that every time when you call your dog, you can reward them with a treat.
Okay, so now what if the dog doesn't come? What do I do now?
You literally have to just stay and call until he responds. That's why I'm saying sometimes it really does take a long time, but eventually, it's a lot of patience, and that's why it's such a hard lesson to teach your dog. It can really take a long time. And what can be difficult for some dog owners, especially if the dog is too busy doing something wrong, maybe they're chasing another dog up and down the fence, or they run off after someone, and you're now panicked and really, really want to get your dog to listen. And what some dog owners make the mistake of is that once the dog has come back to them, which is the correct thing, even though they might not have listened immediately, they often get frustrated with their dog once they're back with their owner, which now is obviously a negative reinforcement. So although they might have been doing something negative, you need to reward them positively once they actually listen to you.
When they show up, they get something positive.
Correct.
Great stuff. And just lastly, before we sign off, because we never have enough time, I think, to discuss everything, because that would be a whole discussion in itself. But also, so now he's in a stressful situation. If he's used to being recalled, he probably won't come, but eventually he will come. So it's all in the voice, right? So one can teach them, yes, in your voice, at which level of finality you're at. Is that possible?
That is correct. And you do have to be firm with them. You can't sit there like, yeah, puppy, because that, they don't really respond well to
maybe
that.
it's like, Didi, come
Yeah.
kids, and then Diddy. Is that kind of...
You can, but you really want to be careful not to be, come across too strongly, because then they associate that they're going to get into trouble when they come back. So they might often, stay away. They'll kind of run around the corner or come into the house through the back door to try and avoid you. So you have to just be very careful to keep it, firm, but keep it positive once they do respond to you, and just keep that positive reinforcement and keep practicing. Take their favorite ball or whatever and practice throwing the ball and stopping them from running after it and rather coming back to you. So that whatever situation you're in, that you have a better chance of being able to get your dog back.
One of the other things, just to end off, I have a friend who is in animal welfare, and she says one of the biggest issues out there is dogs don't know their names.
Correct.
So it's really, it goes together with teaching the dog its name, and then also teaching them how to come back to you or respond to you by coming back to his name, right?
That's correct. Because then you don't actually need much other training. In my opinion, if you have recall with your dog, you don't have to train them basically to do anything else. If they're eating something they're not supposed to, if you call them, they'll drop it and come. You don't have to teach them to, drop the food. As long as you've got that recall, you can pretty much do anything with your dog.
Training that.
Yes, yeah.
Anyway, have fun, people. We'll see you next week. Hope this has been informative. As always, have a great weekend.
Bye
now.
everyone.